क्वेश्चन किससे पूछेंगे?
Assalamu alaikum. Could everybody hear me? Brother Salah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Mufti Jishan, you can hear us? Okay, we're going to, where is Asad here? And let's begin with everybody's cameras off, if that's okay. And then when I call on your name, you can turn your cameras on. Okay. Is Brother Asad joining Mufti Jishan? There we go. Okay, let's get started. Let's give everybody another couple minutes to fill into the webinar.
Sure.
Let's just wait another 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the American Halal Institute's Halal Strategic Development for Your Business webinar. My name is Ibi Nasir, and on behalf of the American Halal Institute, I would like to thank you all for joining us. I hope you are all safe and well and making the best out of the uncertain times we are in. If you are attending this webinar, you either want to take your company to the next level through the prospects of halal, or you might have some intrigue in the halal industry. Nevertheless, the American Halal Institute is here to be your guiding hand throughout your halal experience. Just a couple housekeeping notes to make this webinar as engaging as possible. First, throughout your presentations, you can send your questions through the chat box located at the bottom of your screen to any one of our halal experts. As the questions begin to roll in, we will do our best to answer them during the webinar, but we will also be holding a 15-minute Q&A session at the end of the presentations. So even if your questions do not get answered right away, be sure to stick around until the end of that session. Next, we will also be administering a survey at the end of the webinar, just to get some feedback from the audience to gauge where we should focus the next webinar in our series. We are holding these webinars to help inform the public on the halal industry, and we want to tailor them to what the public wishes to know. Make sure to complete the survey for a chance to win a Visa gift card from the American Halal Institute. Lastly, there will be several polls posted throughout each of our panelists' presentations. These should only take a few seconds and are to help our presenters gain some knowledge about the audience. So let's get into it. In this webinar, we will be covering everything you need to know about the halal industry. We will examine the fundamental aspects of halal, what it represents, and the opportunities halal present to us in the domestic space. We will also be diving into the intricacies and technical features of the halal certification process. By breaking down from start to finish what halal slaughtering entails, as well as cover the proper way to package, transport, and handle halal goods, we hope to give a holistic view of the halal industry. So the question is, why this big push for halal in the United States? As the Muslim population in the United States continues to grow, the demand for halal certified products will continue to increase. Currently, there are very limited avenues for halal consumption for Muslims in the US. In North America, the current halal food market stands at over $1.4 trillion and is projected to eclipse $2 trillion by 2022. You don't find these growth margins every day, which is why it is the perfect time to enter the halal market space. Muslims in the US are substituting their desire for halal certified goods with kosher certified products due to the intrinsic similarities between the two qualifications. At the moment, the US kosher market is significantly more embedded into the fabric of American society. However, the shift towards halal is already occurring. Each year, US Muslims spend about $16 billion on kosher certified products due to the lack of a noticeable halal brand in the US market. US Muslims are waiting for the market to catch up and supply their needs to continuously live a righteous life. The halal industry is expanding, and it's not just about food. Pharmaceutical companies, vitamin and supplement manufacturers, cosmetic industries, hospital care, travel, and countless other sectors all stand to gain through a halal certification. See, halal is not just a portion of a Muslim's life, but it is the all-encompassing values involving every aspect for which a Muslim carries himself with. The outlook for halal is extremely optimistic, and the perspective for growth is clear. I came across an article yesterday that I found very intriguing, and I thought it would be perfect to share with you all. The article was written by Business Wire, a company owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and the piece references the global halal food and beverage market and states that it is expected to show compelling growth in terms of revenue with a compounded annual growth rate of 5.8% during the forecasting period within the next 7 years. So what does this mean? Well, it means that the Muslim population is growing, and awareness regarding halal products serve to exponentially expand the halal consumer market. It is a great time to dive into the halal space. Now, let's take a minute to introduce our guest speakers. First, we are very fortunate to have the president of AHI, Salah Ubaidullah, here to share his expertise on the fundamental aspects of halal. Salah has dedicated his life to the halal industry, working in the halal financial sector for years. We are very lucky to have him impart his knowledge on us and what he has to offer about the halal industry. Next, we have the distinguished Asad Sajjad joining us. Asad has been a halal agenda promoter since 2008, emphasizing the importance of halal compliance and the power of halal branding and opening the door to the trillion-dollar halal industry. Asad Sajjad has been involved with numerous halal startup companies, ranging from certifiers to halal economy developers. He is currently the director of the International Halal Certification Body. Last but most certainly not least, we have the esteemed Mufti Zishan Abdulaziz here with us today. Mufti Zishan studied and specialized in halal food and pharmaceutical ingredients. He has dedicated his life to the research and maintaining of credible halal certifying agents. Serving as CEO of the International Halal Certification, Mufti Zishan acts as lead auditor for the agency. Before we get into the presentations, I would just like to let you know that the first poll is being posted currently, and it is up, ready for you guys to vote on. So, without further ado, let's get right into the panel. We're going to be starting off with Brother Salah. So, Brother Salah, can you please turn on your camera for us? Hello, how's it going? So, Brother Salah, can you define halal for us and touch upon the fundamental aspects of halal and possibly explain to us the difference between what is halal and what is haram?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yes, I would like to reiterate what Brother Ibrahim said in terms of welcoming you all to this webinar. And I hope that by the time we end this webinar that you have learned enough about the halal space. And hopefully if you have any interest that you will be joining us in terms of either applying for certification or for training or for knowing more about the halal space, inshallah. Okay. As AHI, AHI is American Halal Institute, and we basically started the company in order to make sure that the American Muslim community has a credible agency or credible certifying agency that would put its stamps on products and services in the US and whatever it's, even if it's being exported overseas, to make sure that the Muslim consumer has the confidence that when they see something that is labeled as halal is truly halal. And this is something that we hope to expand in the US for many of the American companies, and also the opportunity that comes along with it for overseas. Many people do not understand what halal is. Halal is basically in Islam, it means permissible, meaning that whatever you are allowed to eat or whatever you are allowed to have, whether it's a vitamin, whether it's food, whether it's meat, even on the service side or even on the economic side or investment side, that we have certain conditions that must be met in order to certify it as halal. AHI mission, AHI was made or started to promote halal products and services by providing a reliable and trustworthy certification with the following objectives in mind. We want to simplify the certification process to make it worthwhile for those seeking halal certification. We also want to assure the Muslim consumers, domestically or internationally, that certified products meet the halal requirements. We also want to increase the halal competition, which will ultimately allow for better pricing for the halal consumer. And we also would like to collaborate with internationally recognized certifiers, such as our partners in overseas, the IHC, whose key managers will be participating in this webinar. Let me just also talk about further about IHC. IHC is one of the premier certifying agencies overseas, with accreditation in most countries overseas, which many of those countries would require to have you accredited for them to accept your label as a halal certified product. Halal, as I said before, in Arabic means permissible or lawful. In the Quran, the word halal is contrasted with haram. Of course, there are many categories within the halal or haram category. We have something called mandatory, meaning that it's an obligation for a Muslim to follow. There are certain things that are called recommended, meaning that it's preferred for a Muslim to do it. And there are certain things that are neutral, which means Islam remains silent about it. And of course, we go into the reprehensible, meaning makruh in Arabic, which means that it's not liked. And of course, we have also the forbidden aspect of it. The forbidden is really where a Muslim is really very concerned about, especially American Muslims, where if it's forbidden, they cannot really have it. Halal, in order to really somehow connect you to what halal is, many Americans have an understanding of what kosher is. And I'm going to contrast this with what kosher is, so that and make the comparison between kosher and halal. We have, in terms of, when we said halal, it's not just, like an example. If we were to talk about meat, we're not just concerned about how the animal is slaughtered, but how is it packaged? How is it transported? How is it, when does it arrive to the customer? So we really have a concept it's called F to F, I mean, the farm to the fork, meaning that every single thing that the halal product goes through must be halal or must be acceptable Islamically. And of course, it's not just meat. We're talking about cosmetics, drugs, vitamins, everything that a Muslim consumes. Every time I go to the supermarket, when I buy even intimates or whatever, I look at the label and see, because there's no certification, I start looking for ingredients that would tell me if this item is halal or at least acceptable for me, that there is no something in it that contradicts my values. So, so if producers, suppliers, retailers should really understand the halal processing requirement and all the international laws. I mean, because if you want to export anything overseas, you have to also understand the environment in which you are exporting your products, and therefore you need to also know, there are certain countries that unless a particular agency is accredited by that country, it will not allow their halal label to be acceptable. They will not consider that halal label to be acceptable, and therefore, you have to be very careful in choosing your halal certifying agency. And IHC provides us with that umbrella where they cover most of the countries, especially Muslim countries throughout the world.
Thank you very much for that, Brother Salah. We appreciate it. We'll be calling on you shortly to come back to us. Okay. Now let's jump into our next portion. So next, let's go to Brother Asad from IHC. Brother Asad, can you please turn your camera on? Assalamu alaikum, brother. How's it going?
Walaikum salam. I'm good. How are you?
Good, going well. Okay, let's get right into it. So, Brother Asad, can you please give us a brief introduction to yourself? And can you just tell us about the global halal market size and what is covered under the halal umbrella? While also, can you mention the biggest suppliers and exporters of halal certified products in the world, along with who are the biggest customers?
Okay, that's not one question. There are more than one, so I'm gonna try to cover everything in one. Yeah.
Please. We're asking a lot from you, but you have the knowledge for us, so please, we want to get as much as we can from you.
I have got the slide, which I'll switch on. Can you see?
Yes, we're all good. We can hear.
Okay, great. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a brief introduction about our organization. It's International Halal Certification, and we are proud to be a partner of American Halal Institute for Halal Certification and Trainings. International Halal Certification, or IHC as we are known internationally, is a premium halal body which has the privilege to be accredited, which is recognized and approved by the National Accreditation Body of UAE, which is the most distinguished halal accreditation body in the world. And also we are approved by the Emirates Authority for Standards and Metrology. We're also accredited by the Pakistan National Accreditation Council, and we are proud to be a member of the World Halal Council, that is the Halal Council for International Certification Bodies. At the moment, we are currently working in 15 countries, offering certification and training. So this is a bit about our organization. Moving on to the global halal market. So the question which you have is, what is the global halal market and the size and what all it covers as the first part. The international economic experts and gurus have given the size of the halal food market, which is only the edibles, about 600 plus $billion a year. That's the turnover based on the Muslim population, the Muslim consumer of almost 1.8 billion Muslims. But if you include the non-Muslims who consume halal, the figure will be much higher. But if you take food and non-food together, we are talking about a $3 trillion market. And this is huge. Every year, a $3 trillion is traded under the umbrella, under the label, under the brand of halal. This is my favorite copy of Times magazine. This is the cover of 2009 of Times, when Times gave it on the cover. And you can see Times have coined the word economy, halal economy. So from 2010 onwards, we all started using the word halal economy. And at that time, which is 11 years ago, it was more than $1 trillion, as you can read where my cursor is. So now we're talking about $2 to $3 trillion a year. Now, when we talk about the $1 trillion, we have divided the products under three categories, the halal umbrella, as we call it: food, non-food, and services. Food is all consumables. I'll quickly go through it. It covers everything, which is ingredients, raw materials, packaged and processed food and beverage. This category almost covers everything that you have: the processed food and beverage, all type of agriculture products, including seafood and the special foods, baby foods, herbal and health foods, the flavors and fragrances which go into the food, the food service restaurants, cafes, fast food catering, the food part of these food service agencies. Meat and poultry, abattoir, the slaughterhouses, of course, the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical we have added because they are also consumables. We eat them. So the part which we eat are included here, and other herbal and medications, homeopathic and etc. So this is a brief. The non-food covers cosmetics, personal care, body care, toiletries, perfumes. Moving on, animal and poultry feed, leather products, apparel and accessories. Again, pharma and nutraceuticals are non-consumable, which we don't eat. And packaging and processing material and equipment of food and non-food is included. Moving on to the service sector, which is very important component. It starts with the Islamic finance, halal finance, but then we don't talk about that right now. Our focus is on other aspects. Starting from halal tourism, which is halal hospitality, huge sector. Halal processing and packaging, the service bit, the complete supply chain. Halal food services, the catering, hotel, restaurant. Back there, I mentioned the food. Now it is the service of these industries. Halal consultancy, which includes audit, certification, testing, etc., etc. And then halal logistics, very important. This is important to ensure that the halal products remains halal from its origin to the consumer. So from when let's say the meat is slaughtered down to when it comes on your plate. And that's why, as Brother Salah has mentioned earlier, from farm to fork is what we call it. So throughout the supply chain, from the trucking, the warehousing, the storage, even the sales place area, the distribution, everything has to be separate. Everything has to be segregated. Now, opportunities. Halal covers a complete range of products, which is offered in supermarkets. You can find in five-star hotels, restaurants, fast food chains, airlines, school dinners, military food, and even the prisons have started offering halal. It's a lifestyle choice with a wide range of products. And this movement of halal products globally has created entire new value chains, which includes halal logistics, halal security, halal storage, and halal industrial development. Industrial development includes the halal food parks, halal export zones, halal industrial parks. This is the new concept which came into existence about 10 years ago, and especially in Malaysia. And now they have more than a dozen halal parks where foreign companies from all over the world have invested. So this is very, very interesting for any country which wants to develop halal. Now, when we talk about billions and trillions of dollars, Brother Ibrahim, the first thing which comes to my mind is who's the exporter? Who's the supplier? Somebody's making money. Is it Saudi Arabia, the biggest Muslim country, Egypt, Turkey, Pakistan? Which Muslim country is making the money? When we do the research, we find out the 10 biggest halal manufacturers and exporters are non-Muslim countries. Here you go. India, Brazil, Australia, USA, Argentina, New Zealand, France, Thailand, Philippines, and Singapore are enjoying almost 80 to 85% of the global halal market. We spoke about the billions and trillions of dollars, ladies and gentlemen. These 10 countries have the major share of this billion-trillion-dollar market. India is still the biggest exporter of halal meat in the world. Thailand, which is a Buddhist country for that matter, is the biggest exporter, manufacturer, and exporter of halal products in the world. Now, in the Muslim countries, Malaysia and Indonesia are the two main Muslim countries which have 10 to 15% of the share. Other countries include Turkey, Iran, UAE, and most recently KSA. Saudi Arabia has become active. But the main chunk is with these 10 biggest countries I've mentioned above. Some of the very basic figures, I'll quickly go through it. Brazil exports more than 1 million frozen halal chickens every year. France, 750,000 metric tons of halal frozen chickens annually. USA is the fourth largest beef exporter in the world, and more than 80% of the US frozen beef exports is halal. New Zealand is the fifth largest beef exporter. More than 40% of New Zealand beef exports are halal. Who are the consumers? Who is paying the money? This is the last bit of the question, almost. We have divided it into continent. Asia has got more than 1.1 billion halal consumers, the biggest chunk. Africa's, including East, West, and North, South, and Central, 500,000 halal consumers. Europe, more than 50 million halal consumers, including Russia. Americas, including USA, Brazil, Canada, and Caribbean, have got more than 10 million halal consumers. Oceania, the smallest one, includes New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, about 500,000. This is, ladies and gentlemen, your halal target market in the world, where the consumers are lying. Some basic figures. Europe is buying more than $66 billion a year. France alone is spending $17 billion on halal. UK meat sale figures more than $600 million a year. America is spending almost $13 billion on halal food annually. The GCC, including UAE, the Gulf countries, together are importing more than $26 billion worth of halal products, from which Saudi is alone $12 billion. Indonesia, the biggest Muslim country, the biggest bill, $70 billion. Other major importers include Malaysia, Iran, Africa, and other Muslim countries. So these are some of the figures for your interest. Some people ask me if there's any potential. Can we invest? Is there any scope in the future for halal? So I'm giving you this second last slide. This is a research done by Dinar Standard, which is a US based company. Now they have a big office in UAE. They did a special report for the government of UAE. It's called Global Islamic Economy Report. Every year they update this report. And this is the most authentic halal research and report in the world. So their 2019-2020 report has given halal divided into 7 sectors. You can see, and this is based on 2018 figures. Halal food, 1.3 trillion in 2018. Cosmetics, 64 billion. Modest fashion, $283 billion. This is modest fashion is primarily for the Muslim ladies, what they wear. Halal travel and tourism, $189 billion. Media and recreation, $220 billion. Halal pharma and nutraceuticals, $92 billion. And finance, we are not talking about it. That is separate. So the first 6 are the most important. And here is the potential of 2024 as per the Dinar Standards latest report. In 2024, food from 1.3 trillion is exceeding to 1.9 trillion. Halal cosmetics from 64 to 95. Modest fashion, 280 billion to 400 billion. Travel and tourism, 189 to 274. And pharmaceutical from 92 to 134, including nutraceutical. So there's a huge growth. You can see anybody who wants to invest is most welcome. This is the potential, and this is the true research. Some figures from our side, our research, important markets to focus. For the companies who are into meat business, China is the biggest market. I've been to China so many times. The local population is double the size of the entire Gulf countries, which is a huge requirement, a major requirement of halal products. So the biggest scope is in meat because Chinese, they love meat everywhere, whether it's non-halal or halal. They eat meat in every meal, meat and rice, the 2 most staple food for Chinese. The total population, as you know, 1.2 billion, but there are more than 100 million halal consumers. So if everybody starts exporting 48 hours a day, you don't have 48 hours, but if you export 48 hours a day, you still cannot meet the Chinese requirement of meat. This is a huge market for halal and otherwise. The other markets for non-food, I'll point out especially cosmetics. Alone, right now it's worth 64 billion with the potential of growing to 95 billion by 2024. The UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and the other Gulf countries, including the MENA countries, the Middle East and North Africa, Morocco, Tunis, Algeria, Libya, they are the biggest importers of halal cosmetics. So there's a huge potential for cosmetic and personal care industry to brand their products as halal to reach into this space. This is a big space waiting for you, big opportunity. Another one is for the textile companies because modest fashion is very easy. 200 billion turnover right now, potential of doubling to 400 billion by 2024. And the fashion shows of the ramps in New York, London, Italy, Spain, and many other countries, they have been showing modest fashion in the fashion shows already for many years. So all the textile-rich countries, including USA, should take advantage from this huge market. Last year in New York Fashion Show, there was a modest fashion entry from a local US designer. So if you are anywhere close to the textile industry, you better concentrate on modest fashion. And in service sector, halal tourism, despite the corona, there's still big future. You know, the turnover was 180 billion, potential 270 billion by 2024. It covers all the airlines we travel in, the hotels we stay in, and the destination we go to. This is the halal umbrella. So all major international bodies are focusing on halal tourism, including the non-Muslim countries. I'll give you two quick examples. Thailand, everybody knows Thailand is famous for tourism, but different kind of tourism. Since a few years, Thai government is concentrating on halal tourism, and they are holding conferences. My sister concern is organizing halal conference for last 7 years in Bangkok, and in Phuket, which is a very famous beach in Thailand. They have organized 4 halal tourism conferences. Can you believe that? And people from all over the world are going to Thailand to attend the halal events. Second example is Japan. In Japan, one of the most famous destinations is the Tokyo uh, Disney. People go from all over the world to Tokyo Disney. You know, the area close to Tokyo Disney is called Chiba. Chiba is the name of the districts. They call it prefecture in Japanese. So the Chiba prefecture, the mayor of Chiba decided to convert the entire Chiba district into halal friendly. So the tourists can come and stay over there and feel at home. And that's a non-Muslim country. So starting from the airport down to the food places in Chiba, all welcoming halal tourists. So these are two examples, because all these countries are doing is for the economic benefit, and it should be a special focus to brand your country's tourism from wherever, which country you are, uh, including the USA. Focus on halal tourism to attract the focus customers. So this is the answer I tried to cover in my short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Brother Asad. I'm glad I asked you all those questions. That was very valuable information there for us. Those numbers really put into perspective how just how big this opportunity of halal is in the global market. You know, the numbers are truly eye-popping. Just a couple housekeeping notes. A reminder, we will have our Q&A portion of this presentation at the last 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, please just shoot them into the chat box and we'll log them and we'll get to them during that last 15 minutes. Second thing, we will also be posting a link to the survey just to get some feedback on the webinar. This will be posted in the chat box as well. You can find it there and you can just complete it at your convenience. So now let's go to Mufti Zishan Abdulaziz. Can we please have you turn your camera on? Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. How's it going?
Yeah, walaikum salam. Thank you, Ibrahim. I hope you can hear me and hence everybody can hear me.
Yes, you're loud and clear. We can hear you. So what I wanted to ask you was in regards to the halal slaughtering of animals. What are exactly the requirements related to the slaughtering in the halal supply chain? Can you maybe impart some knowledge on us for that?
Yeah, thank you, Ibrahim. In this regard, I think so I should open up my few slides so I'll be able to answer this point in a better way. Okay. So I hope I'm able to share the screen. And my name is Mufti Zishan, and I'm heading this organization, International Halal Certification. And I'm thankful to Brother Ibrahim for giving my introduction to the participants. By qualification, I've done my specialization in Islamic jurisprudence. My major was in halal foods and pharmaceutical ingredients. Associated with this organization. In fact, I'm the founding member of this organization as well, International Halal Certification. I have been doing audits of halal in different industries, which include food processing, meat processing, personal care products, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and all the sectors which come under the umbrella of halal. And I have been auditing on various halal standards, including the GSO standard, the UAE standard, SEMIC, OIC, Malaysian, and various other regional and international halal standards, and almost around 1,000 audits are done in different parts of the world, including Europe, South America, Middle East, and Far East Asia. So coming to the question which you have asked, Ibrahim, it's a very important question. It's important for us to understand that halal is not just related to the slaughtering. the meat processing, it's not just slaughtering part. In fact, if we talk about halal in the meat processing industry, it has a wider concept. In fact, the concept which Brother Salah mentioned earlier in his answer, that it has a concept of farm to fork. So the halal standards have given specific requirements and guidelines with regards to the supply chain requirements, and hence it gives us a guideline that the organization which is implementing the halal assurance system, halal management system, it has to have a proper system where it has to have the details about the farm where the birds or animals are coming, the logistical arrangements, pre-slaughtering requirements, slaughtering requirements, post-slaughtering requirements, which includes the ante-mortem and the post-mortem as well. And then the further processing distribution network of the organization. So the entire supply chain has to comply with the halal assurance system and halal related requirements. The organization should have adequate information about the farm where the animals are coming from, or for example the poultry processing production area where the chicks or the birds are being fed and grown. So what sort of diseases were there, what sort of medications were given to them, how many birds were they handled in a proper way, and all the requirements of animal welfare as well have to be considered. This is a very important part which a lot of people do neglect. Halal is not just taking the name of God while slaughtering. It has to have complete requirement of animal welfare as well. When the animals or birds are received in the slaughterhouse, it is important that you have to ensure that the animal is in good health, it does not have any injury, it does not have any disease, and that is why it is important to have pre inspection, what we call in our technical terminology ante-mortem. The animal husbandry expert or veterinarian doctor has to inspect each and every animal, each and every bird before it's taken to the processing plant and to the lairage area, to ensure that it does not have any disease and it might not contaminate the other animals, or the meat eventually is not going to be harmful for human health as well. And if any animal is injured or it's dying or a sick animal, it should be slaughtered humanely and should not be moved to the meat processing area, and its meat should be discarded in a proper way. It should not be sold in the open market or should not be sold for human consumption because it's not fit for human health. Similarly, due care should be taken during transportation to reduce the stress among the animals. And it is important to ensure that you load the animals in the vehicle up to the capacity only. Should not be overloaded. What we have observed in various parts of the countries and in different countries as well, that the people who are carrying the animals, just to save their costs, they overload the animals, and hence we have observed that few animals die, few get injured, and it is a very bad situation for animals. So it should not be done, it's not allowed, and that is where the organization's halal assurance system steps in. It should have a criteria, a specific protocol, a procedure, standard operating guidelines, that how many, for example, chicken, poultry should be there in each carrot, or how many animals, if it's cattle, if it's mutton, or whatever the species is, should be carried in each vehicle. And if it is not complying with that, it will surely cause stress among the animals. Definitely it will have an impact on the meat quality as well, but will have an impact on the halalness as well, because the animal might get injured. And similarly, and most importantly, the feed which is being given to the animals before you slaughter them, the feed which is being given, it has to be halal as well. If there are any vitamins or any other things which are being given to the birds, for example, in their feed, it should be ensured that those vitamins or supplements are also halal. And therefore, we do request the organizations to have the halal certificates from their suppliers to ensure that whatever they are providing to the organization is authentically halal verified. So this is something which gives us the overview of the supply chain requirements from beginning till the slaughtering process. This is all from my side, Brother Ibrahim. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mufti Jishan. It's a very in-depth process, the halal slaughtering and the qualifications for it. It really accentuates the beauty of halal, knowing that you're, like you say, from the fork to the feed, that every single detail is taken account of and is noticed. That's what I personally love about halal, is that we know every single step of the process for us. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So now we're actually going to be going back to Brother Salah Ubaidullah. And Brother Salah, can you please turn on your camera for us? Brother Salah?
Yes.
There you are. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
So my next question for you is, I was wondering if you might be able to explain to us the similarities and the differences between halal and kosher standards, and why does that matter for halal certification? What do those similarities and differences mean for your halal certification that you would like to proceed to get? So please inform us, please.
Yes, we've talked about the fact that halal is Islamically considered to be permissible or allowed for Muslims to use or to eat. And in kosher, it means proper or fit in the Jewish law, meaning it's almost a similar word in the sense that they are both would be permissible for Muslims and permissible for Jews. In halal, the content of the process does not include a pig or its ingredients. And that applies exactly the same under the kosher laws. Of course, the animal, in Muslims or halal certification requires that it be slaughtered in a humane manner by an adult Muslim. Any Muslim who professes to be Muslim can say, all he has to say is Bismillah, when he slaughters the animal. So it has to be slaughtered by a Muslim. In the kosher laws, it requires a rabbi who's named would be called a sachet. He actually has to supervise or actually do the slaughtering himself, or the initial slaughtering of animals. So those are the similarities. Also in Islam, in the halal, for it to be halal, the enzymes in any product must also be halal. That's where we differ with the kosher standards, where they considered any enzyme that comes from any animal, including non-kosher, to be kosher, which is a little bit on the odd side. To us, in the halal, for a product to be halal, a prayer must be made on each individual animal. In the kosher side, it can be done on the first and the last animal, and that we consider to be satisfactory. Of course, in halal, we are not allowed to use alcohol. In the kosher, they are allowed to use alcohol. So that's a different issue. And also, the dairy and meat in halal can be mixed. In the kosher, they cannot be mixed. So those are the differences. They're minor differences. But one thing that the reason that I'm making this comparison is that if a product is already kosher, especially on the ingredient side, especially on the vitamin side, or even the pharmaceutical side, we probably would meet the same criteria as the kosher, and we would be easier for any kosher product, already a kosher certified product, to be easily certified as halal. So most of the requirements on those issues, especially the ingredients, would already meet the halal standards with minor modifications, so that it would make it almost an easy way into the halal products if an item is already kosher. On the meat side, though, it's a little bit trickier. So because if it's slaughtered by a rabbi, and then we as Muslims, for it to be halal, it has to be slaughtered by a Muslim, rather than a rabbi. So that makes it an issue. But most Muslims would somehow accept the kosher, because we as Muslims are allowed to eat, the people of the books products, as long as unless it's specifically forbidden. But for halal to be halal, it has to meet all those criteria that I talked about. And what, as I said, most Americans are familiar with kosher, and they, as the kosher label says, we answer to a higher authority. We Muslims also answer to a higher authority that supersedes any other authority. It means that it has to be acceptable within our values and our Islamic rules and requirements. But as I said, if anything is already certified as kosher, it would have an easier path to becoming halal, and it would be a lot less expensive process than, say, if an item is not already kosher. That is, those are the similarities, and also the differences. And anybody who has already a halal kosher certification, it would be very easy for them to become halal certified. And we are here to do that. Thank you very much. And I hope that gives you an explanation of the difference between halal and kosher.
Thank you very much for that, Brother Salah. That was exactly what we were looking for. I think it's extremely important to emphasize the crossovers between halal and kosher, while also noticing the distinct differences between the two. Because they for the most part, they do fall in line with each other, but there are some pretty specific differences that should be noted. So thank you for that, Brother Salah. We appreciate it, and we'll be calling on you one more time at the end of this video. Now let's go to Brother Asad. Can I please have you turn on your camera again?
I am not able to turn on my camera.
Can you please try it again?
Okay.
There you are. It's good to see you.
Hi.
Okay. So, Brother Asad, the question or questions this time that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
So, why do we talk about an overview of about halal products and not solely about halal slaughtering of meat? Why is it that we look at a holistic view of everything and not just specifically the slaughtering? And then we also touch upon the issues of self-declaration within halal. Okay, what issues and problems might arise when somebody just throws their own halal label on their product, and why that is unethical for us. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just for the information of everybody, while the other speaker was talking, Mr. Ibrahim was sending me the question in advance so I can be prepared. So this is not a magic, but then he's just sending me the answers, questions in advance.
You can't teach them our tricks, Brother Asad. You cannot tell our secrets.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So this is the why we're talking about halal products. Why not slaughtering? Or why not halal meat? This is a misconception which we have to clarify, because our understanding includes all the Muslims, majority of the Muslims in the world. Our understanding is limited to only slaughtering of meat and chicken. But in today's world, a lot of products are made from the pig byproducts. And just to clarify and repeat that the opposite of halal is haram, and the biggest haram, which is non-permissible product, is pig, or not the product, but the pig as an animal is haram, is non-permissible. So anything which is made from pig as a byproduct is also not permissible. So in today's world, a lot of products are made from pig, including food and also non-food, which we use in everyday life. I'm going to give you an example of this lady called Christine Mendestrama. She's from Netherlands, and she wrote a book called Pig 05049. Christine did a research on an animal which was labeled, which was tagged as 05049. So after this pig was slaughtered, after 05049 was slaughtered, Christine did research for 3 years of where it ends up, what all is made. And she discovered 185 different products were made from one animal, pig 05049. Christine says if you are a Muslim or a vegetarian, you still end up using a lot of products that are made from pig, which includes everything: the pig skin, the pig bones, the meat, internal organs, blood, fat, miscellaneous parts. Nothing is left. Everything is consumed. I have made a synopsis of her book, and I'm going to show it to you with pictorial synopsis. Here you go. The pig skin, as per our research, is used in beauty products, skincare products, face masks, body lotions, hair conditioners. Not the face masks which we use for corona. No, these are the face masks which ladies use, on their skin. Pig skin is used to make gelatin, and the gelatin is used in making sweets, chewing gums, chocolates, energy bars, marshmallows. Also, pig skin is used to make puddings, jelly. Actually, gelatin is used to make jelly. Ice creams, cheesecakes, chocolate mousse, tiramisu, UHT milk, certain kind of fruit juices, and extra calcium yogurt. Pig bones is used to make many things, including the X-ray films and the everyday inkjet paper. But the focus is on the pig bone glue, which is used to make matches. The glue is used on the head of the matchsticks. It's used to make sandpapers. It also used to make jigsaw puzzles and leather products. The same jigsaw puzzle which our children take in their mouth. And the leather product, it could be a wallet, it could be a belt, it could be a purse. You are praying with a wallet which has got glue made from pig bones. So this is how intense this problem is. Pig fat is used in the soap industry, major use in the soap industry. Also in toothpaste, washing powder, shampoos, anti-wrinkle cream, paint, cattle feed, floor wax, and crayons. Which crayons? The one which our kids, our children take in their mouth. Pig blood, mostly used in chicken feed and fish feed and cigarette filters. Pig internal organs, heavily used in the pharmaceutical industry. Pig hair, many uses. One of them is to make L-cysteine. L as in London. L-cysteine is a bread improving agent, and it is used in the bread industry, in the bakery industry. Also used in flavoring and seasoning. So your bread could very well be halal, but if it contains L-cysteine as a bread improving agent, there you go. The bread will become haram. The pig hair is also used in the low-fat butter industry, but the focus is on brushes, paint brushes, and also toothbrushes. Could be very well made from pig hair. Even in our countries, where we are, in the Arab countries, other Asian countries, we find the pig hair brushes sold on the website. Wild boar hair brush is what it says. Wild boar, we know, is the pig. So this is how intense it is. Other byproducts include wax. What is the use of wax? This wax is used as a coating on toothpicks and dental floss all over the world. It is also used on the lead of the writing pencils, black as well as color, and many other items, including china crockery. and the pig meat is used as steaks, but then you also have the pig blood glue, which is used as a binder to bind the portion control meat steaks. Very, very intense this problem is. So if you are buying steaks, meat steaks, tuna steaks from a supermarket, if it says portion controlled meat steaks and you are a halal consumer, please, or a kosher consumer, please do not take the portion controlled meat steaks or tuna steaks, because they could very well be using pig blood glue as a binder, and it is such a small quantity, it is not even mentioned in the ingredients. This is the chart of all the items of the pig which are used, and these are all the haram items, including alcohol and pig and blood and everything else. So this is not to scare you, but just to aware you of what all is happening in the world. So this is covering the first part of why we talk about halal products and not halal meat only. Now moving on, your question was regarding self-declaration. Self-declaration is writing H-A-L-A-L. Anybody can write H-A-L-A-L or Hey Lam Alif Lam. It does not make your product halal unless it is certified. And if you write it without certification, it's called self-declaration. Self-declaration is wrong. Self-declaration, which is writing halal, is the risk of haram, and it must be avoided either by ignorance or by cheating. The manufacturer, the suppliers could mix the haram in the halal products, and it can be avoided only if the products are halal certified. So we must avoid buying any product which just says HALAL. If it's certified, it has to have a logo of the certifier. There are many examples of haram products being labeled as halal by mistake or falsely labeled. But the reason is only one: self-declaration. Very quickly, I'll show you 3 slides of the disasters in the world by mistake or by false labeling. Here in Australia, a big airline catering company was found to have labeled pork. This was pork, and it was saying halal product. There was no certification, but only a label. See my cursor, halal product. That's his self-declaration. And it was discovered, and he was fined and all that. But this should not happen. In Malaysia, which is the most strict country, this was caught. You can see it says pork mince with bean paste. So it's pork. Product of China. It says somewhere, yeah, here, product of China. And the Chinese supplier saw everybody was selling halal, so he wrote halal here. On the right hand side, it says in Arabic and in English, HALAL. And he was caught. He was doing it intentionally because he didn't know that pork cannot be halal. And this was being sold in Malaysia. The third example is the latest in China. Again, it was the province of it's Xi'an, the capital of Shaanxi province. The police seized more than 20,000 kilos of pork. It was being sold as halal. Sorry. So this is, this was changed by using paraffin wax and industrial salts to look like beef. But this is how it was, caught. So these are 3 examples, and that's why we have to avoid self-declaration. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Brother Asad. That was very informative. You don't necessarily realize all the possibilities where you might encounter halal or even mishappenings in the halal industry where there's incorrect labeling or self-declaration, as you stated. You really have to keep your mind open, even in 2020, in today's world, of where you might encounter these haram products. Just a quick reminder, the Q&A portion, we're still going to have it at the end of this presentation. So if you could just continue to send your questions at the Q&A box at the bottom, and we'll log them so we can get those answered for you, inshallah. We also have the second poll is posted and is ready for your response at your earliest convenience. And now let's jump into Mufti Zishan's second portion of his presentation. Mufti Zishan, can you please turn on your camera?
Can you see me, Ibrahim?
Yes, we can see you. How is it going? Assalamu alaikum. So my next question for you was in regards to the halal stunning of not the halal stunning, but the stunning of animals. What are the guidelines in regards to the different types of stunning, and how does that incorporate into the halal compliance standards? Please.
Okay, so just share my screen. Can you see my screen, Ibrahim?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Thank you. So basically, it's a very important question, Ibrahim, regarding the stunning, and it has been widely asked, and it's a sort of matter of concern for a lot of people, and even the regulatory authorities as well in various countries, and therefore the guidelines, the regulations in different markets is a bit different about it. So if you talk about the main GCC market, we find that the GSO Halal standard, which is a Gulf Standard Organization's Halal standard, and also has been developed by the UAE's Halal standardization body, which is ESMA, Emirates Authority for Standardization and Metrology. In their standard, which is numbered as 993, they have prohibited stunning for poultry. All types of stunning is not allowed, impermissible for poultry. However, if you look at the Malaysian standard, we find that the Malaysian standard still allows stunning for poultry as well. And if you go towards CIMIC OIC Halal standard, it also discourages stunning for poultry. And if you look at the Pakistan Halal standard, for example, so it has specifically mentioned that poultry stunning is not allowed. Anyway, but if you talk about the large animals like cattle and or mutton, for example, so in the case of large animals, stunning is still permissible, although it has been discouraged, but it is still permissible with specific conditions. There are specific requirements which are again specifically mentioned in the standard, and they are very particular requirements. For example, if it depends on the class of animal, if it's, for example, buffalo, then it could be stun, that the voltage, if it is electrical stun, for example. The most important thing to understand is that no penetrative stunning is allowed. Only non-penetrative stunning is allowed, and that too with specific voltage, ampere, and number of seconds where you can do the stunning. So for buffalo, a specific voltage could be there. It could be done for specific number of seconds. For example, 5 seconds, for example. If it is, for example, a cattle, or if it's a cow, or if it's, for example, mutton, then the second has to be lesser. It has to be on this much voltage and this much ampere. So the standard has specific guidelines which has to be implemented by the organization, and it has to be strictly monitored by the certification body which is certifying the organization through their regular supervisor or meat inspector who is stationed in the slaughterhouse and inspecting the slaughtering process. So I would again say that it is again discouraged, but if it is a requirement, you have to do it, then you have to do it in a specific way to ensure that this stunning does not kill the animal. The purpose of stunning should only be to make the animal unconscious. It should not be stunned to kill. It is not allowed. And if it kills the animal, if the animal, for example, was a weak animal, and if it died because of that stunning, then that animal, a dead animal, would not be considered halal. It has to be removed from the slaughtering line, it has to be removed from the chain, and it has to be taken to the quarantine area from where it has to be discarded in a very controlled manner, so it does not causes spreadness of particular diseases. Well, the use of stunning equipment shall be under the supervision of a trained Muslim officer, and has to be periodically monitored by an accredited halal certification body. So there are strict parameters for the stunning for large animals as well. Now, if we talk about the types of stunning we have various types of stunning. It could be captive bolt stunning, it could be electrical stunning, it could be hammer stunning, and it could be gas stunning as well. So captive bolt stunning is type of stunning. You might have seen there is a type of a pistol, for example, a gun which is kept on the head of the animal, and there is a bolt which comes out, a needle in fact, which goes inside the head, and that makes the animal unconscious. It falls down, and then it is slaughtered. Since it is penetrative stunning, it is not allowed. Electrical stunning. Electrical stunning, whether it's done on the ears or on the head, for example, but since it's non-penetrative, it is considered permissible as per few standards, only for large animal, and has to be done under controlled environment, as I mentioned earlier. Hammer stunning is strictly not allowed because it's really, really very much painful for the animal. There is a hammer which is being put on the head of the animal, which causes unnecessary additional pain. The animal becomes unconscious, and at times it dies as well. And there have been instances, for example, where the hammer was stuck with such a heavy force that the bone broke down. The skull broke, in fact. Therefore, hammer stunning is absolutely not allowed. Not allowed at all. Then the last one is gas stunning. In fact, there is a gas chamber where the animal is sent inside this gas chamber, and there is a gas, carbon dioxide gas, and the animal becomes unconscious. Even for poultry, it's used for poultry as well in a couple of countries as well. We have observed it, that there are a lot of poultry carrots, and they are sent inside the gas chamber, and then the gas comes out, and the poultry becomes unconscious. What we have observed, and there have been studies about it, and it has been proven as well by the technical experts and scientific researchers as well, that this gas stunning also causes the death of birds and death of animals. Therefore, it is also not permissible. The reason is because if few animals die, you won't be able to identify those animals, because some of them are dead and some of them are unconscious. It is not possible for you to go and check or inspect each and every animal's heartbeat, whether it was working or was it dead. Every animal is unconscious, some of them are dead, and if they are dead, they are not halal. Therefore, since it's difficult to identify, therefore it is strictly not allowed. So this is something about the stunning and the modern practices in the industry, and that is why it is not recommended. But at some time in certain countries, in certain markets like European Union and some other markets, because of the governmental requirements related to animal welfare, the organizations are bound to carry out stunning process, but still they have to ensure that the animal is not dead because of stunning. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much for that, Mufti Zishan. I think that was a very important detail, along with a note about the halal slaughtering process, about stunning. I think a lot of people had questions about that specific instance. So now let's move to our last portion from Salah Ubaidullah. If you can please turn on your camera. Assalamu alaikum. So, my last question for you was, it's a pretty holistic, if you can just kind of put into perspective everything. And can you explain to us why halal, and why now? Why is now the perfect time to get into the halal space? Please.
Okay. Let me share this graph here. I mean, it's it's all about economics. Any business is always looking for an opportunity to expand their business through additional products and additional sales. And this is really a golden opportunity for many of those listening to us and those who are interested in halal products to increase their sales. This is a market that's really untapped here in the United States to a large degree. And the opportunity is just sitting there and for the taking. And anybody who can somehow provide the kind of products that Muslims need on the domestic side is going to benefit. When I go to Costco, I always look for halal products, and I find very few of them, except in certain areas where you have a high concentration of Muslims, where you see basically a decent section of, Costco or even some other chains. They already have halal products in their stores, and it's expanding. I mean, we can see that it's actually expanding day by day. So those who will take the opportunity first will probably benefit the most. Establishing their products as halal will definitely be, if they are the first one to start, they usually get the benefit of being the premier supplier for halal products. So it's all about economics. It's all about the dollars. This market is increasing exponentially, and not only that, or not only on the domestic side, but also on the international side. Unfortunately, most of the Muslim countries really are consuming, countries. They really need the products. They need most of the products that are being made here in the States. Whether it's meat, chicken, cosmetics, fashion, whatever, it's all needed. And it really provides an opportunity, and a growth opportunity for those companies that choose to take advantage of it. If you look at it from a point of view of sales here in this country, it's, as I said, it was alluded to that $16 billion worth of, the Muslims buy almost $16 billion worth of kosher products. And I'm sure as a Muslim, if I go and I see a kosher product, sometimes I buy it, I look for the halal and I can't find it. So as an alternative or as a last resort, I pick up the kosher. But really my preference would be for the halal. So if I found the halal product, I would be picking up the halal. So that's a $16 billion that's just in one sector alone in the kosher side that Muslims choose to buy. And for the other products, we also, every time we buy anything else for that matter, we look at the ingredients and we try to decipher exactly if it has any ingredients that would contradict our halal criteria. And so if I can find something that is already certified as halal, I'll pick it up right away. And that's what the average Muslim here in this country will do. And aside from that, when it comes to overseas, they're very conscious about halal, and especially when the product is made in a country that is not a Muslim country. They're very cautious about buying it because they want to make sure that it's halal. And unless there is a halal certification on that product, they're probably going to shy away from it. There are a lot of American companies that have already begun to actually produce halal products, and you can see that from the list, from Purdue to Jenny to Butterbolt or the Crescent Food. On the vitamin sides, there are numerous companies that are already in it. And then going back to the vitamin side, nowadays many days, like when I go to Costco, again, I keep using Costco because I use it often. There are a lot of vegans that use already looking for alternative because they must have an issue with the fact that when gelatin. So a lot of them now, they say gelatin, and they specify the kind of gelatin that they use. that it is coming from, a cow rather than, the porcine type, which is coming from pig. So they already are conscious. Somebody's making a decision that, or aware of the fact that some people are staying away from gelatin or other, products that have to do with pig. So you'll find them with vegan capsules, and so those companies can easily be certified as halal. But of course, we need to verify that the process is consistent, or at least adheres to the halal standards for it to be so. So the opportunities, as I said, those companies that are already choosing to be halal or have chosen to be kosher, they can see the opportunity and they're taking advantage of it. And we hope that those people who do not have halal certification or do not provide products for the halal market would choose to do so, because it's really beneficial to them money-wise, and it's going to impact their bottom line in a positive way. And this is a market that's, when you talk about 20 to 25% of world population being Muslim, for anybody to ignore that kind of a number just does not make any sense from an economic point of view or from a logical point of view. So we hope that more people would be choosing that. As you can see from the estimates really vary from, from $50 billion here in the U.S. To almost $2 trillion in the world economy worldwide. And and this is a market that should not be ignored. This is an opportunity that's really there for the taking. A company may do certain minor modifications to its process or to the way it does things, to make sure that the products or services are halal, but the benefits are tremendous. And it should impact them in a positive way economically and as I said, on the bottom line. And I hope that a lot of companies would actually at least research this and consider this opportunity seriously, because it is beneficial to them. There's also, the increasing awareness of Muslims, even in, in Europe, it's a little bit more aware of halal products. It's increasing here in the States, and you now have a lot of different companies that are coming to the market to try to make it easy for the Muslim population to have halal products, whether it's halal eat, halal on click, halal to door, and all of that. So, and the increasing acceptance by halal by non-Muslims as a superior or non-halal. And I think I mentioned this once before, that because of the COVID-19 in Taiwan and in China and all of that, a lot of people, when they go to restaurants, they choose halal. There is a line on the halal, halal restaurants versus the non-halal, because they perceive that the product is a little bit more wholesome, that it's cleaner, that it's they pay more attention to it, that the quality is better and all of that. So I think that people are becoming more conscious of good products. That's why organic has taken a foothold in this country and is increasing in volume. And I believe that halal encompasses not only the organic side of things, but also the tayyib aspect of it, meaning that it's good and wholesome. Whether it's from the treatment of the animal, to the way you slaughter it, to the way you package it, to the way you do it. So, so it's the perception of halal, I hope, will continue to increase to the point where it becomes a must for anybody, for any producer of products to consider. I hope that will answers the question, and if there are any clarifications or concerns, I'm here to answer them if need be. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, Brother Salah. That was very informative, very beneficial. We appreciate it. Just another housekeeping note. The third poll is being launched currently, and it is, let And that is our last one. So if you guys just want to go ahead and fill that out for us. Again, we are having a Q&A portion at the end of this. So just get your questions in, so we'll have them ready to go. And the last thing is our survey link is in the chat box. If you would like to complete that for a chance to win a vanilla gift card, it's just good to give us some feedback on how we should tailor these webinars, as I said, and just kind of, because we want to give you what you guys want. Now, let's move to Brother Asad for his last portion of the webinar. Brother Asad, can you please turn on your camera?
Hi.
Hello, how's it going?
Good.
So, to wrap up your portion, can you please tell us about the brand value of Halal and what image does the Halal logo carry in the international market?
Very important. Very, very important question. So I'm gonna go back to my slides. Halal, we have to remember halal comes with another word, which is tayyib. Halal wa tayyib. Tayyib reflects the wholesomeness of the product, the goodness, the good quality, the health and benefits. So all these good words are covered under the single word tayyib. So halal food cannot be halal if it's not tayyib. If the food or the product is not of the highest quality level, it's not good only, but the highest quality level, then only it can be branded as halal. So this is the most important explanation of halal you have to remember. Halal, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, has become a universal concept, standard of choice for both Muslims and non-Muslims worldwide. So the demand of halal labeled, halal branded food are driven by the fast growing Muslim population, but also by the non-Muslim consumers who are seeking clean, healthy, and safe food. And that's where halal comes in. You know, the international brands which are popular, the international labels, we all know of kosher, natural, healthy, organic, environment friendly, cruelty free, ethnic, fair trade, etc., etc. These are all popular. We all know about them. Halal has gained credibility and popularity among non-Muslim society because the principles of halal wa tayyib covers all these. It is healthy, organic, environment friendly, cruelty-free, ethnic, and fair trade, all under one roof. So it's one label which is covering all. And this is the most important brand value of halal in real terms when we use halal. But we must remember, when we talk about halal, we always talk about halal certified. Halal certification is a must to certify and declare any product, because this is the endorsement on a product for the compliance as per the standard. And it is done by an independent, a third party certification body who issues a certificate to you as a producer or an exporter, confirming that your production is carried out under the supervision of the halal standards, and it's maintained throughout the production, processing, and distribution from farm to fork. So the selection of right halal body, selection of right halal certification body is very important to ensure your customers are getting the genuine halal products and they are satisfied with the halalness of your brand and your products. So this is the most important note. The power of halal brand, as you have asked me, Brother Ibrahim. So many products and services on the market, so many unknown sources. It is but inevitable that halal branding becomes very important because the brands are eye-catching. You know, they are prominent. They help you sell. They differentiate your product by giving information and to restore your customer confidence. Halal is a brand which helps you sell by creating new markets and drawing in new customers. And the halal certification let you use the halal logo or halal brand to confirm to your consumers they are buying authentic halal product. This is a very interesting survey which was done in Southeast Asia, which covers Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, you know, and this was done by our company to check the consumer buying preferences, and they had 4 criteria: whether you'll buy a product based on halal logo or a brand name, or price is important, the country of origin is important. So you can see 31% consumers said they look for the label of country of origin, where the product is made. 32% go for price, the cheaper the better for them. 69% going for the brand. 83% consumers, the highest percentage, said they prefer buying product with the halal logo. They don't care about the price, brand, or the country. If the product is halal, it is the maximum importance. So this is very, very important for the Southeast Asian market. Extremely important to have your product branded as halal. Halal, ladies and gentlemen, this is my last slide, has become an international brand. A brand which is globally recognized among Muslims and non-Muslims for the good quality and healthy products. And this is the reason to expand the halal certified trade to the $3 trillion a year. The religious value of halal is supreme. The standards have to follow. But the top 10 countries which I have mentioned to you, who have made on the top of the list of biggest halal exporters, have one thing in common. They all recognize the economic benefit of halal and used it for the betterment, for the development of their country and their companies. So if you are a halal, if you are a manufacturer or a producer or an exporter, you get halal certification, get the halal brand, and this will be the key to open new doors, new customers, new markets. And as we say, inshallah, if God is willing, halal will be your key to the future, and to fight to do the damage control which has been done by the pandemic. Thank you very much. This ends my slides for the third part of the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Asad. All 3 portions of yours were very excellent. We appreciate your time. Now, to wrap up our panel portion, we're going to be going to Mufti Zishan for the last time. So, Mufti Zishan, can you please turn on your camera?
Yeah, Brother Ibrahim.
And just a reminder, the last poll is completed and that survey link is up, so just complete that at your convenience. And so, Mufti Zishan, the last thing I wanted to touch upon with you was to see if you could maybe explain to us and tell us about the halal slaughtering requirements and the slaughtering tools and equipments that must be used in the halal slaughtering process.
Okay, thank you, Ibrahim. It's a very important question. And so I'll share my screen with you, a couple of points which I wanted to show to my participants. And a very crucial part, which is the core of halal slaughtering, the requirements related to specific slaughtering process. So there are a few things which our standard has guided us very specifically. The place which is being used for slaughtering halal animals should be used for only halal species. That particular place should not be used for halal and non-halal species. Both the species should not be slaughtered at the same place. The organization, if they are slaughtering non-halal species as well, then there has to be a proper segregation, a proper separate production hall for halal production, whereby there should be proper segregation and identification, so there is no chance of cross-contamination at any step. Similarly, the slaughterman who is performing the halal slaughtering should be a Muslim, ideally, although the standard has allowed the people of book as well, the Christians and the Jews as well, that they can slaughter as well, but ideally it is recommended that a Muslim should be there as a slaughterman. That slaughterman should have in-depth knowledge about his responsibilities towards halal slaughtering. He should know the requirements of halal slaughtering, the process, what he has to utter, and what he has to do, and what are the things which he has to avoid. So he should be aware about his requirements, should have been properly trained and guided, and that particular person should be approved by the halal certification body, should be authorized, and then only that person should be allowed to perform halal slaughtering. The slaughterman should ensure that he is uttering the name of Almighty God while slaughtering each and every animal. It is important to take the name of God while you're slaughtering the animal or birds on each and every. Okay, recommended bleeding time. It's a very important thing that the proper bleeding time has to be given, in which there should be spontaneous bleeding, and before that bleeding time is completed, no additional cutting or deskinning takes place, because at that moment the animal is not completely dead. If you start deskinning process, or if you start any additional cutting, it will surely be additionally painful for the animal. Therefore, it is important to give proper bleeding time, and the proper bleeding time I'll share in my next slide. It is important to ensure that the slaughterman does not sever the spinal cord and head as well, because if it is done, it's extremely painful for the animal. Hence, this act is considered extremely non-recommended. That technically we call it makruh, but things which is extremely disliked should not be done. Slaughtering equipments and slaughtering tools. The organization shall ensure that the knives which are used for slaughtering process should be razor sharp. It should be properly sharp so that it is easier to cut the animal, and it does not make the slaughtering process additionally painful for the animal, that you are trying to cut it but you are not able to do it because the knife is not sharp properly. It's additionally painful, should not be done. Similarly, those knives should be kept clean, should be sanitized after each and every animal as well, and should be sanitized at the temperature of 82 degrees as well in the hot water. So all sort of bacteria or any sort of if there is any virus or any thing into it should be removed. And this is a particular requirement in regards to the food safety as well, that the water should be hot enough that it could kill the diseases or bacteria. One thing is very important, and it's also again not just the requirement of animal welfare but the requirement of halal as well, that those knives should not be sharp in front of animals, because if you do that it will be additionally painful for the animal, and it is not a recommended thing to give additional stress to the animals. If you sharp the knife in front of them, it will give them additional stress. The organization shall station a trained halal supervisor or halal inspector right after the slaughtering process. So he is able to monitor the slaughterman. He is able to see that each and every bird, each and every animal is slaughtered according to the requirements of halal standard. And if any animal is not slaughtered properly, he will definitely instruct, and he is supposed to instruct regarding the removal of that animal from the production line. And it should not go for further processing because that is not halal. And similarly, he should have his own checklist as well. He should be filling his halal slaughtering records as well, because he's a supervisor over there. He's stationed over there. So he has to note down that that particular animal with that particular tag or traceability number was not slaughtered properly. His records should reflect that activity as well. If any animal, as I said, are found not properly slaughtered according to the halal requirements, that animal should be removed from the slaughter line. Once the animal has been declared dead completely, then only you're allowed to carry out any additional cutting or processing. And that time frame for bleeding, as I mentioned in my earlier slide, is 3 to 5 minutes for poultry, minimum 3 minutes, and then it could be more as well. And for large animals, it has to be 4 to 8 minutes. So there is spontaneous bleeding and the animal is completely dead. And then you start the further cutting and processing. So it's not going to be painful for the animal anymore. So this is something which was important part of the halal slaughtering standard and the core slaughtering requirements, which every slaughterman should be aware about and should ensure not only the slaughterman, but the organizations, production department, the quality assurance, the quality control. Similarly, the people in the halal certification body, the auditors should be aware about these requirements so they can ensure the implementation of all these requirements and clauses. That is all from my side. Thank you so much, and over to you, Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, Mufti Zishan. Great presentation. Now we will be moving into our Q&A portion of our presentation. So if we can have all the presenters just turn on their cameras and unmute themselves.
Hi.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay. So the first question we have is we're going to be giving it to Brother Salah, and it is in regards to a product that was purchased from one of our attendees. They said they purchased a hairbrush, and after they returned home and looked at the package, they noticed that the bristles were made from pig hair. The pricks of the comb were made with pig hair. So the question is, do you guys at AHI and IAC, do you certify these types of products? And what does that certification process look like to ensure that these haram products do not contaminate our products? Brother Salah?
Yes, I mean, we do certify it, but if they're using products or ingredients that are inconsistent with the halal standards, we cannot, it will be rejected. You know, we will not be able to certify that particular product, but we can actually show them the alternative material or tell them what the alternative material that would be halal so that it would be acceptable and would be able to certify it. I think the Mufti should maybe can add more to this from his own, real life experience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Salah. And this is a very important question. I saw this question coming from one of the participants, and I was excited to have this sort of question. Yes, the halal certification is not just limited to the food products. It is for all the products which come in contact, which are being used by the people. Whether it's cosmetic item, whether it's personal care products as well, even toothpaste, toothbrushes as well, tooth products, the products which are related to oral hygiene, the products which are related to disposable hygiene products as well. So the umbrella of halal is very vast, and that is why we at International Halal Certification, we specifically got our accreditation and approval in this particular category as well, regarding the personal care products and cosmetic products. So the answer is yes, these types of brushes definitely, as Brother Salah said, which are complying with the requirements of halal standards and are from halal sources and do not have anything which is not halal, is surely certifiable and definitely needs halal certification. And the good thing is that the awareness which is coming among the people, among the masses, among the regulatory authorities, among the governmental authorities, that we in past have experienced certain governmental authorities even asking for halal certificates of these sort of products as well. I mean, I had this experience. There was the basting brush which was used in a bakery industry and which was used for basting purpose, and the bakery industry ensured that that brush, the hairs of that brush were not coming from pig source, for example. So, and toothbrushes as well. I mean, there was a consignment which was coming from China, and the importer was asking the supplier to provide halal certificate for that toothbrush. So the awareness has grown and the market has expanded. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Brother Asad, do you have anything you want to add to that, or does that cover it all?
Yeah, I've already covered this point earlier. You know, I gave the example of wild boar bristle, which was the mention on the brushes, and that is wild boar is wild boar. You know, it's wild pig. You know, a wild pig is even worse than a regular pig, for that matter. So, and the brushes are used. We saw, there's a product you're aware of called shawarma. And in a country where I saw shawarma meat, they oil the meat with the brush, when the meat is being rolled on that in front of the fire. And the brand of the brush, I knew it was a wild boar bristle. and I told him that it's haram. So this, we have to be very careful, especially with the brushes.
Yeah.
And a small addition: halal certification does not mean approval. Halal certification is to check the compliance. If the product is passing, then you get a certificate of approval. If the product does not pass because it has haram contamination, then you don't get approval. You get a certificate of denial, if you know what I'm saying. So the product has to be, the manufacturer, the exporters of brushes have to be sure that they don't buy the bristles from a source that is not correct. And if they are, then they have to substitute it with a halal source. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Okay. This next question, I'm going to pose it to all three of you, and then whoever wants to take it on, please do so. The attendee was wondering, where does CBD, cannabis, the non-psychoactive part of cannabis, fit into the halal industry? Is it going to be, are you able to halal certify this? Is it going to be haram? Are you able to import and export this from different countries? Where does that fit into the halal industry?
Well, Mufti will be better off to answer this question, but my experience a few years ago was this gentleman was asking from US about the CBD. So the research was that if it was used in the pharma, then it was allowed, but then if it was used as an intoxicant, then there's a different case. So Mufti, I'll not get into the Sharia bit. That's your domain.
I think you are muted, Mufti Jishan.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Asad. Actually, the point is that we have to see that from the regulatory perspective as well, and from the guidelines perspectives coming from the standard as well. So the basic thing regarding all plant-based components, thing is that all plant-based components are halal except for two conditions. Okay, and then there is additional requirement as well. The two conditions is if it is harmful for human health, then it is not permissible. If it is intoxicating, it is then again non-permissible. For example, grapes being a fruit is halal. Grape juice is also halal. But if there is any fermentation occurring in it, and if it reaches the level of wine, then that the wine which is coming from grape source will not remain halal anymore because it became intoxicating. Well, so the point is, if it is harmful, it's not permissible. If it is intoxicating, then it's not permissible. And then the secondary thing is that if the governmental authorities have allowed it or disallowed it, if the governmental authorities have banned a particular thing, despite being halal from the standard point of view, but still if the governments have or the regulatory authorities have prohibited, then we cannot certify that product. It will not be permissible to use that because it does not comply with the law. So we have to comply with the law of land as well. Now coming to this particular product which you are talking, so we have to see for what purpose it is being used. Number one, is it being used in a product which is meant for intoxicating purpose, or is it used directly as intoxicating, then intoxicating component, then it will not be permissible, obviously. Or if it is used in a pharmaceutical industry, just like Brother Asad said, for something which is a life-saving drug, for example, and it's not even intoxicating, then it's permissible, provided that it is legally allowed. If it is not legally allowed, if it's not permissible, then obviously not.
Thank you very much for that. I think we got a good picture of the understanding of that answer and where CBD lies within the halal industry. So our next question is regarding it's regarding a database of halal sources. One of the attendees was wondering if there was any website or database or platform where they could find if the product has been halal certified by an accredited body, or does something like this not exist yet at this time? Does that make sense, Mufti Jishan or Brother Asad?
Well, they are individual. There's no central database available in the world. They are individual, websites of the companies. If you see a product, it goes other way around. Instead of going to a website and finding out about halal, you go to the market, you see a product, and you check the logo on that product to make sure that it is certified by a certification body. It's not a self-claim HALAL on it. And if it's certified, then you still want to reconfirm, you can go to the website of that certification body to check that that product manufacturer is mentioned on their website. This is, so it's a bit lengthy, but then this is the way it is right now. To our knowledge, there is no single database. Yes, there are individual non-certifiers, who have created some sort of, database which is small, limited to an area, limited to their country. In Thailand, they have for Thai products. In Malaysia, they have a Dagang Halal. They are commercial websites. You pay them and you enlist your product on their website. So, but it is not a true ambassador of of all the products in that country. If you don't pay them, you may be the most halal product, but you're not on their list, because so they are commercial website, and that is how it is done in every country. I'm sure in America also there are websites which are using it for commercial purpose. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That makes sense, I believe. Okay, I think we have time for a couple more questions. The next question.
Sorry, I'm sorry, but I remember there's a website called zabiha.com in US, and I believe they are doing this thing, also offering some halal certified products by taking money and enlisting them on their products. So yeah, that is one source I remember. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I think that's exactly probably what the person was looking for. So like I said, I think we have time for a couple more questions. This one I'll also post to all three of you because I think you'll all be able to answer this. But one of our attendees was wondering, what does the certification process look like for a company? How long does it take? What are the steps that are included? Is it simple? How difficult can it be? What are the hurdles they might encounter? Can one of you possibly shed some light onto this for our attendee?
I would suggest Mufti Zishan, because he's heading the operation, so he should be the right guy to answer that briefly. Thank you.
Okay, so regarding the halal certification process, actually, again, halal standards have given us a guideline that this is how you have to perform the halal certification process from the beginning till the end. So quickly, I'll go through that. A company who wishes to get certified, they apply to us. They fill out a very simple questionnaire which we have. They tell us the name of the company, the production sites, whether they do the production themselves or they have outsourced the production, and then what products do they want to get certified? Do they want to get all their products certified, or do they want to get few products certified? Again, it's a choice of a company. They might get the entire product range certified. They might get few products certified. It's up to the company. However, if they are getting few products certified, then we need to know that the products which are not included in the halal scope, do they contain anything from pork or pig source, for example, and are produced on the same production line? So, well, these are the questions we ask and information we get, and the main component, the basic raw materials of the products we get from the company. We evaluate the raw materials. We check that whether these raw materials fall under the criteria of halal, whether can these products be certified halal, and then we we inform the client that your products can be certified, and this is how it will cost, for example, whatever the costing is. And then we tell the company that, for example, you want to export to this particular market, you have to comply with these halal standards, and these are the requirements, for example. Then the company makes the preparation, they prepare the documents or whatever the requirements there are. Even they might need to get certain information, halal certificates or technical documents from their suppliers. They get all those things. And then we plan the audit. This halal certification audit is divided in two stages. It's a stage 1 audit and a stage 2 audit. The stage 1 audit is sort of a gap analysis. We go to the client site, we review the process, and we check what are the gaps over there and what else they have to comply with, what are the further requirements they have to ensure in their factory. Once they are done with that, we do a detailed stage 2 audit, which is from the beginning of receiving of raw material store, processing, packaging, finished goods storage, and similarly their document review as well. Their management system documents regarding the people who are working in the organization, their training records, and the objectives of the organization towards halal policy, and these related documents which are required by the standard. Once everything is performed and everything is completed and nothing is remaining, then the complete audit report and all other supporting documents is sent to the decision making committee, which is an independent committee. The auditors which are doing the audits, they are not allowed to take the decision themselves regarding the granting of certificate or not to grant the certificate. There is an independent decision making committee which comprises of experts. They review the reports and then they decide that whether the company can be certified or they need any other further information. Well, if it's decided to grant the certificate, then the certificate is issued, and the company is also provided with the halal logo, our organization's halal logo, with the unique traceability code for that particular organization, which they will be printing under or beneath the logo for marketing purpose. And then they can place the halal logo on their websites, on the brochures for marketing purpose, if at all they want to use the halal logo. Thank you. This is the process.
Thank you very much for that, Mufti Zishan. Okay, let's go with 2 more questions. So we had another attendee, and they were wondering, so she says, is there anything I need to know as a woman who is raising animals to keep the animals halal? Is there certain things she needs to watch out for, or while she's caring for these animals to ensure that they remain halal, up to halal standards?
Shall I answer this question? Yeah. So if the lady is raising halal species, first of the most important requirement is that the species should be halal. If it's halal species, then the feed which is being given to the animals should be halal. Should not have anything non-halal component going into it. And then that the farm or animal breeding area should comply with the animal welfare requirements as well. This is all, and this is the most important thing is the feed and handling of animal, giving a proper medication on time, and most important thing is the traceability, to ensure to have the traceability records that what feed or what medication was given to the animal at a particular time.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mufti Zishan. Okay, the last question. Let's go with okay, halal and GMOs. How do GMOs, what do they incorporate into the halal food industry? Where is it permissible? What are they allowed to manufacture and modify with these genetically modified organisms? Where is the line drawn? So can you please answer this for us as well?
Yeah, can I answer this question?
Please.
Thank you so much. So regarding the GMOs, genetically modified products which have been produced through genetic engineering. So again, the Halal standard has given us a guideline. In certain countries, there are certain products which have been declared as carcinogenic, cancer causing. If it is so, then that product will become non-halal because it has been rendered as harmful for human health. Well, apart from that, we have to see, for example, if genetic engineering is being occurred in vegetables or plant source material like corn or rice, for example, we have soybean these days, a couple of other vegetarian products which are having genetic engineering, not for any other purpose, but for, let's suppose, increasing their yield, productivity, or for example, increasing their shelf life. So in this situation, technically it is halal. However, if it has been scientifically proven that it's harmful for human health, then it will not be halal anymore. However, when we come towards genetic engineering in the animals, so we have to see whether genetic engineering was done between two animals. If both of them were halal species, then still it is again considered the outcome, the child of that animal would be halal. But if it was done between a halal species and a non-halal species, then that child will not be considered halal, because that genetic engineering was because of one of the non-halal animal as well, as it was involved. So this is something regarding the GMOs. I hope it's very much clear.
Thank you very much for that, Mufti Zishan. And I think that just about wraps up our time. On behalf of the American Halal Institute, I would like to thank you all for joining us. Please don't forget to complete that survey linked in the chat room for a chance to win a Visa gift card. Also, don't forget to check us out at ahiusa.net. Again, that's ahiusa.net for more information. We are very excited to get started on your halal journey, and we want to be there every step of the way with you. Assalamu alaikum. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all, gentlemen. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.